reporting there. Back here at home, one of the lead stories in this morning's New York Times titled, "Why a Second Trump Presidency May Be More Radical Than His First." It comes on the heels of The Atlantic's special issue, which also outlines the dangers of a potential Trump second term.
And staff writer for The Atlantic, David Frum, who contributed to The Atlantic's big special issue outlining the threat of a second term for Trump. David's piece is entitled "The Danger Ahead," and in it, you write in part this, David, quote, "If he wins the election, Trump will commit the first crime of his second term at noon on Inauguration Day. His oath to defend the Constitution of the United States will be a perjury. The president would be an outlaw, or on his way to becoming an outlaw, for his own survival. He would have to destroy the rule of law. If Trump is defeated, the United States can proceed in its familiar, imperfect way to deal with the many big problems of our time. Stopping Trump would not represent progress on any of those agenda items. But stopping Trump would preserve the possibility of progress by keeping alive the constitutional democratic structure of the United States. A second Trump presidency, however, is the kind of shock that would overwhelm all other issues. It would mark the turn onto a dark path, one of these rips between before and after that a society can never reverse. Even if the harm is contained, it can never be fully undone, as the harm of January 6, 2021 can never be undone. The long tradition of peaceful transitions of power was broken that day. And even though the attempt to stop the transition by violence was defeated, the violence itself was not expunged. The schemes and plots of a second Trump term may be defeated too, yet every future would-be dictator will know a president can attempt a coup, and if stopped, can still return to office to try again. And David, the dangers are so many to those of us who truly understand where this is going. I think that's half the problem, because there's normalization happening, which is one way on the road to autocracy and fascism, but the other is overwhelming a society with information, with lies, with disinformation, with so much. And we have TV networks and podcasts and even so-called news networks that help inflame this fire hose of falsehoods that between normalization and overwhelming a society is the danger you're talking about.
Well, let's think about that moment on noon of Inauguration Day 2025. And suppose Donald Trump is the person taking the oath. At that point, Donald Trump will be at the center of 4 criminal indictments, 2 federal and 2 state. He may already be on trial. He may already have been convicted. There's nothing that stops a convicted person from being elected president. At the same time, in the state of New York, he's going to have a civil trial to dissolve all his companies for their crimes. So what does he do when he finishes his inaugural address and goes back to the White House at 12:05 or 12:10, skips the parade, he's bored? His very first priority is going to be to bust up the legal system of the United States, because if he doesn't, he probably goes to prison. So that's priority 1, wrecking the legal system of the United States. Richard Nixon lost the presidency because he was accused, because evidence emerged that he had tried to use the power of the United States to stop a criminal investigation. Well, but Nixon had done that secretly. We only knew about it because of the smoking gun tape. Donald Trump is going to do it in public. That's what he does when he goes to the office. And he's anticipating that there will be protest. And so his second plan is to send the military a bunch of illegal orders to use its force to suppress dissent in American cities, which is not something the military is designed to do, not something the military will want to do. So he'll confront the military almost immediately with the question, do we obey the orders of the president, or are these orders illegal?
So, David, let's do the hypothetical, and that Trump wins again. We assume in this case, if he's a Republican, he's won the White House. Republicans have probably captured at least one House of Congress as well. We know that he has said that, and the Heritage Foundation is already hard at work at repopulating the federal government with those who are loyal to him. The Supreme Court is deeply conservative, and he appointed 3 of those justices. So what guardrails, what barriers actually would remain? How could he be slowed down in the second term?
I don't think we get to any of those things he so-called wants to do, because his administration will be a chaos. One of the very first things, I mean, we're talking about day 1 or 2. He's either going to try to fire much of the Justice Department, or he's going to try to pardon himself, because you don't have to wait for a conviction to be pardoned. You can pardon somebody in the middle of a proceeding. Gerald Ford pardoned Nixon before he'd even been charged with anything. So Donald Trump will be thinking about pardoning himself. Now think about what that means. If a president can pardon himself for a crime, that means the president can walk into the bedroom of the White House, of a federal crime, walk into the bedroom of the White House, shoot the First Lady dead, and pardon himself, or even write the pardon in advance, then shoot the First Lady dead. It means the vice president can walk into the Oval Office, shoot the president dead, pardon himself now that he's president, and maybe there's an impeachment, but none of them would face criminal liability. None of that can be true. That's obviously crazy, but that's the logic of self-pardon. The president can literally commit murder in the White House. Now, people will be in the streets. Congress will be in an uproar. Nothing will get done. The military will be confronted with illegal orders. Nothing will get done. And America's foreign adversaries, right now we're confronting a Venezuelan army mobilizing to invade another Western Hemisphere country. We have a war in Ukraine that Congress is blockading the funds for. The Republicans in the House are blockading the funds for. We have crisis in the Middle East, not only Israel, but maybe Iran. All of these enemies of the United States gathering. And in the United States, we will be paralyzed because there will be people in the streets. The president will be claiming that he's immune from the law. The military will be sifting every order to the general counsel to say, can we do this one, or is this one illegal? We will have a breakdown in the authority structure of the United States. And meanwhile, if the Democrats do have one of the houses of Congress, we'll have an instant impeachment crisis. So what we're looking at here, I wrote an article in 2017 predicting that a first Trump term would put us on the path to autocracy. This time I'm predicting a second Trump term takes us on the path to chaos, breakdown of authority, weakening of the presidency, and predation by America's foreign enemies.
All right. On that note, The Atlantic's David Frum, thank you very much. Very well said, and frightening as hell. His new piece, part of the magazine's special issue on a potential Trump second term, is online now, and it is worth a read if you care about this country.